All right, welcome in, Kristopher Squibb.
Hey, I'm Kristopher Squibb, 40 years old. Just finished my first book and got it published back in October.
Awesome. Okay. Uh, sorry. Go ahead. I don't know. You want to start over? Let's start over. Okay.
Oh, you said you got away?
Hey, spooky babes, and welcome back to another hauntingly good episode of Harlots of Spook Talk. I'm Tiffany, your paranormal loving, true crime obsessed guide through all things eerie and unexplained. And today we've got a special treat for you.
And I'm LD Pteloma, your witchy spiritualist ready to stir the cauldron out of curiosity. Because tonight we're diving into storytelling, creativity, and a little bit of mystery with a very special guest.
That's right, we are joined by none other than Kristopher Squibb. Is that how you say it? Author of the Book of John. Kristopher isn't just a writer, he's a world builder, a creator, and a full on imagination powerhouse.
He's also got a passion for 3D printing, Dungeons and Dragons, and crafting entire universes from scratch. And if you want more of him after tonight's episode, trust us, you will. You can catch him live on TikTok under Kristopher Squibb Author.
So settle in, dim those lights, and get ready as we dive into Kristopher's creative mind, his book, his process, and maybe even the spooky inspirations behind it all.
Let's talk with
The Harlots of Spook Talk. Okay, so we have to know what first sparked the idea. I'm so sorry. It's been a long day. So what first sparked the idea of Book of John, and where did the story begin?
So it's actually kind of funny because most of my stories, most of anything I do, happen with me and my son driving in the car. So his mom lives about an hour and 40 minutes from me. And that day I was driving him all the way down to her house, and we just started having a random conversation about like the supernatural and ghosts and stuff. And then we came up with this idea of what if at some point people were given a choice to cross over or stay behind? So like the ghosts that are here chose to be here, and then that turned into, well, what would happen if they chose to stay behind? Would they just live here forever? And then that turned into, well, would they start losing their mind? Like, what would the consequences be? Like, is that how we get poltergeists? And then that spiraled. And then all of a sudden I was like, that'd be kind of a cool love story. And that's kind of how the Book of John started. And then the names started popping into my head, the characters started popping into my head. And then I was like, okay. And then the ideas just started flowing after that.
I
That's
like
pretty
that.
cool. Yeah,
That is a good question, though. It
that
makes you
is pretty
think.
cool. Your
Yeah.
son had a big part to do with that. He's
Oh, he
Yeah.
always does.
your inspiration.
Oh, yeah.
That's pretty cool. Um,
Okay.
so
Go ahead.
where are you going?
I was going to do it because you.
Okay, go ahead.
I was going to say, so the book mixes romance, fantasy, right or no, and paranormal vibes. Did you plan for Oh my gosh, did you plan that from the start, or did things just get spooky on their own?
So it started out just kind of generalized, like, what if they stayed behind? And then I was like, okay, so what if there are consequences? Like, what if somebody stayed behind and something did start happening? I was like, that would make kind of a good love story, especially like the psychology behind it and just all of that. And like, it's kind of hard to talk about this book without giving things away. But like, ultimately, it is a love story, but not the kind you expect.
Oh, okay. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. And then there are other books coming in the series. I have 7 or 8 total planned now. And the next one is just a
Dang.
straight supernatural psychological thriller. So it's not a love story, but it introduces the antagonist to the story. So I have 4 origin stories planned, and then at least a trilogy where all of the players from the origin stories come together into a big epic story.
That would be like, okay, so I'm not a big book reader myself. It's very hard for me to start liking books because I read the Twilight series and I read Stephen King books. So I'm like, this one is like,
Books.
I might start,
Yeah.
I might start reading again, honestly.
So
Yeah.
the funny thing is I don't like to read either. Like it's really hard for me to keep interest because I feel like a lot of books, especially when people get super famous, they put a lot of fluff in there, and so it's
Yeah.
like 20 pages before anything interesting happens. So I
Yeah.
actually wrote this book where almost every chapter has a cliffhanger, making you go, "Wait, what's going on? What is going to happen?"
Mhm.
And I kept it in the copies I have now. It's 150 pages because it turns out the font was only font size 10, and I didn't realize that. But it's
Oh.
175 or 174 with size 12 font, and I keep it moving in a way that you'll read through the whole book and not realize you've read through the whole book, and then you get to the end and you're like, wait, I want more. Because
Yes.
my dad read it. He's not a big reader anymore, and he
Mhm.
read it in like a day because he's like, I couldn't put it down. And the last time I read a book, it took me 2 years because I'd read a half a chapter, set it down, come back to it 3 months later. He goes, I
Yeah.
like the fact that it just moves along with no filler or fluff and just tells the story. And so I did that because yeah, I don't like reading big thick books that
See, and
yeah.
that's nice. I would definitely do read something like that. I feel like that was like Twilight series for me. But
I feel that. I think for me, it's like getting in. If I can get into the first page or two, I'm hooked for as long as I don't get distracted with something else. Because to be honest with you, I have 3 books and I'm halfway through all of them. And it's not that they're not interesting, it's just I have the mind of a squirrel. But so if I
I,
have a like a good hanger, I'm gonna come back and be like, wait a minute, what happened to Joe? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I wrote it specifically to where the first chapter it it moves really quickly and then ends on kind of a cliffhanger, and you're like, what did I just read? Like, what is going on? I want to know more. And so
Yeah.
I tried to be like, here's the characters, here's what's going on, here's what happened, but I'm only going to kind of tell you what happened, so you have to keep reading to find out more. And when I was actually marketing this like in person, I handed out the Kickstarter and the first chapter of the book because I was like, if you're not hooked by the first chapter, you're not going to read the rest of the book.
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
that's
true.
true.
That's how I am. I don't know. I have a really good feeling about it. Like I seen the cover and I read like the bio and everything, and I was like, oh yeah, this is it. I need a good book.
Yeah, it's a roller coaster of emotion and everything. I realized there's a lot of like psychological undertones in it, which is kind of cool. And so I don't know. It was fun to write for the most part.
Um. Okay, so without giving away any spoilers, what's a moment in the book that you're extra proud of?
Honestly, there's the conclusion of the main story arc, which is actually I think 6 chapters from the end of the actual book. And so it ends the main story arc, and then the final 6 chapters of the book kind of introduce the progression and the main players for the rest of the series,
Mm.
and kind of makes you like want to read the next books and everything. But the conclusion of the main story arc, I think, was just amazing. Like I love how it turned out.
That would get me hooked. I'm interested already. Sorry. I'm like so intrigued. I'm just deep in thought listening. Um, so, what do you hope readers feel or think when they close the book at the end?
I'm hoping that they have enough emotional attachment to the characters and what happens to want to read more of the stories. And I think the introduction of the new players in the series, they'll get excited when they see like the second book that's coming out, because there's like four main groups or four main people that are introduced. So there's the protagonist, which is John and those characters, and then there's the antagonist, which is the second book, and then the third book is like a group of antagonists basically, and then the fourth book is like another group of protagonists. So ultimately, like with the trilogy, it's going to be like one side versus the other. But I tried to introduce them enough that when they see the titles of the next three books, they're going to be like, ooh, okay, I want to read that because I want to know more about this person. They were in two parts of the first book. Oh, and then this one is about this group. They were in two parts of the book too, and I want to know more about them. And so I kind of tried to write it that way.
You know, and that reminds me a lot of like Stranger Things too.
Yep.
Because we see all the characters, but in different like episodes and stuff. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That show, I don't even know. I don't even want to talk about that show. My son, he brought some popcorn, sat with me on the couch, and he said, "Hey, can we watch one episode?" And I was like, "Okay, one." And then one turned into two. And then I'm like, "Wait a minute, are we done with the whole season now?" Like I was like, "I don't even like this show." And then the next morning he got up and he was like, "Want to watch one episode?" I'm like, "No."
Yeah. Yeah. They drag you in without you realizing that they're dragging you in, and I kind of
Yeah.
try to do that with my writing. Is it's
Mhm.
like you're like, oh, I'm gonna read a chapter, and then you get to the end of the chapter and you're like, crap, that was a cliffhanger, and now I want to know more. And so
That's
like I
how
kind
they
of try to
get
do that.
you.
Yep.
Mhm.
Because then you
Yeah.
just think about it constantly.
Yes, and I have that OCD, and I will be up all night thinking about it. If you see me up at 4:30 in the morning, that is exactly what's happening. It's just going in circles, like, "Oh my gosh." So I have to
Okay,
know.
but I want to know which character gave you the most trouble or attitude when you were writing.
That's a good one.
Oh, in this one,
Yeah.
Yeah.
um, let me think. Honestly, okay, without giving too much away, one of the main characters, she was kind of interesting to write because I didn't know, like I knew who she was, but I didn't know who she was going to be or how she was going to be throughout the story. And so as I was writing, it evolved completely different than I expected it to, because I plan out like the beginning, middle, and end, and then I kind of let the story write itself. And so I knew how I wanted it to end. I knew kind of this major scene that is like really intense. I knew about that, but that was it with this character. And so I just kind of let her evolve as I wrote the story, and she kind of turned out to be completely different than I expected.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of interesting because it wasn't what I had planned, but when I start writing, it just kind of happens and the story writes itself after a certain point.
I like that. I never really thought about that. Like, just thinking about the beginning, the middle, and the ends. That's a good, that's good. That's good advice. For me, I've written 2 books, and I should have done that, but it was kind of all over the place.
I can't do the ABCD approach and write it
Mhm.
in order like chapter one, chapter two. I
Yeah.
can't do that. My brain doesn't work that way.
Mhm.
I'm like, I'll figure out the beginning and I'll figure out the end, and then there needs to be something really epic that happens in the middle of the story or whatever. And then I'm like, okay, now how do I get there? And so, like
Yeah.
with this one, I actually I wrote the end of the book, and then I wrote the beginning of the book, and then I wrote the middle scene last because it was one of those where like it was really traumatic for the characters, and I didn't want to do that to my characters because by that point
Uh-huh.
I was like super attached to my characters, and I was like, I have the power to not put them through this. Do I
Yeah.
really want to put them through this? But I was like, I have to for the story, and like it was kind of hard to write because I had been writing about them for almost a year and a half at that point, and so they were important to me. And
Yeah.
like when I write, like I'm telling their story, but like in my head, it's almost like I'm telling the story of people I know.
Mhm.
And so it was really hard having to do that to them.
Mm.
So, I guess that leads me to the next question. Did any character surprise you or decide to run the story themselves?
Yeah, so honestly, like John is the main character, and I feel like he to me was the most like easy character to write, and I was like, he's the protagonist, like he should be the most difficult to write, but
Right.
he just kind of was, and I kind of knew who he was and how he was before I wrote the story, and then the other two main characters or whatever, I knew what was going to happen to each of them, but I didn't necessarily know them. And so they kind of wrote themselves around John's character, if that makes sense.
That does actually, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I totally get that completely, because that's when I was writing. Everybody had a purpose, they had a place, there was a reason for them being there. This is how they're going to help them on their journey. So I completely get that. So, giggle, giggle.
Giggle, giggle. So with the ghost and spirits, the beyond, do you believe in all that?
Yeah. So that's something that's been really big with my family since I was little. My aunt, and I think it's my aunt, my brother, my dad, my stepmom, and my other aunt actually run a paranormal investigation, like nationally, no, like licensed
That's
paranormal investigation unit out of
awesome. Yeah.
Washington State. And so
That's
people
so
actually bring
cool.
them in and stuff. Yeah. And so it's something that I've always been around.
That is so
See,
cool.
I wish my kids had that attitude. Like,
We did a ghost hunt this one time here at this super haunted house. Like they're trying to remodel this place, and the construction workers won't work on it anymore because like weird stuff happens. So
yeah.
there's three kids, I think like a slave driver, a soldier, and somebody else that are like haunting this place.
Yeah.
And we're like, we're gonna go into it, open, whatever. Like it sounds gimmicky. Everybody goes here, and
Right.
we had two spirit boxes, and we were out there, and we got audio recording of one of the ghosts saying, want him. And we're like, want who? And he goes, kid. And my son was standing next to me, and I had a parabolic mic on, and I could hear something rushing through the trees at us.
Oh,
We could
hell
see for
no.
like a couple hundred
Oh,
feet. There was
wow.
nothing out there. This guy
Mm-mm.
wanted my kid, and we're like, no, we're going back inside.
Yeah.
And then my son was walking around with the spirit box, and the little kids were inside the house. He was having full conversations, like full sentences with these kids over that spirit box. And the people that were running the investigation, they're like, we've been doing this for years, and we've never heard like full sentences before. Like this is
Yeah.
crazy. And it was intense. My kid was just like, eh. He's it's like
I
whatever.
I have one kid that's like completely open to it, like he can see, as well. And so he's like, "Yes, whatever, let's do it. I guess I'll go with my mom." But
Yeah.
then cuz they're teenagers. So and then my oldest, he's like, "I don't want nothing to do with it. Nope. I don't want to hear
Yep.
about your story. If I see somebody walk up the stairs or somebody just walking through and I say something, and I tend to have this urgency to say something. I don't know why. And he'll just be like, "Shut up, shut up, shut up." Nope. I'm like, nothing's gonna hurt you. But yeah, they will not. My youngest, he just started messing with that over the summer, kind of learning the spirit box and stuff too.
Oh, yeah,
It's
when
weird.
I was visiting,
Yeah, we played with it too.
Nice.
It's weird, like
we did.
it's like when you see spirits, like, and then you hear it on a box, it's a completely different vibe. Because sometimes I know I can see, I know I can hear, and everything, but it's nice to have that verification, on these devices. But also, at the same time, if something says, "I'm going to eat you," like, "Come here," I'm going to be like, "Bye."
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
It was pretty scary. I was like, you're gonna stay close to me the rest of the time. Like
Yeah.
this is a little much. Like, yeah,
Sounds
it was
very
intense.
brave.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Like, I remember seeing stuff when I was younger, and my parents, they would be like, "Here's the Bible." And I'm like, "Okay." So it's totally
Yep.
weird now. I don't know. Don't get me started on ghosts.
Yeah.
But, okay, so back to it. I'm sorry. So, oh, I don't know if you saw this question, but did wait, yeah. Did anything get cut, character, scene, idea, that you still think about at 3 a.m.?
I actually didn't cut anything. I did the opposite. So I finished the rough draft of the book. and it kind of did like some TV shows where like the end of the main story happened and then it jumped to like a year later and kind of told kind of like, hey, this is what happened.
Yeah.
And one of my friends read it and she goes, you need to fill that gap in. And then she brought up the fact that the other characters and the groups that I brought up, they were only brought up like once in the beginning of the book. She's like, I kind of want to know more. So I actually ended up writing 5 or 6 more chapters after I finished the rough draft to fill in that
Wow.
gap. And it like
Yeah.
really completed the story and made it so much better.
Nice. Okay, so I think I skipped you guys. I'm so sorry. I didn't know until Tiffany wrote it here at the bottom. Okay, so I
I
guess back
mean,
we're just
yeah,
all over the place. I don't know what's happening today. It must be the moon. I don't know.
it's
But
been a long day.
let's just I mean,
Yeah,
as long as we're having fun, that's all that
exactly.
matters. So she okay. I guess we'll skip down here. I'm sorry. Maybe I should pause. So, okay. No, wait. No, I got it. Sorry. Okay. Did any real life experiences or research play into the supernatural moments in your story?
No, not really. I mean, yeah, no, not really. It's kind of an original story. I'm creating an original universe and an original world and everything, and I'm kind of trying to keep certain types of spirits the same because, like with the story, when people stay behind, if they stay
Mhm.
behind for too long, that's what we get, like poltergeists and stuff. And so there's certain types of spirits in this that represent like different psychologies. So in this book, there's only one that they come across in it, but then in other books there's going to be multiple ones and I try to keep them as close as possible. And so like I'm not going to say which one's in this book because it's kind of a plot twist, but at some point it's going to include banshees, shades, and then there's some other one I can't remember the name. It's a Latin name that basically just means evil, like really evil spirit. And everything. But like the banshees are driven to be banshees because of anger. And since they can't control they have no body. So they don't
Alright.
really feel anything because, our body releases the chemicals that make us feel stuff. And so the anger just keeps driving and driving them, driving them and turning them into banshees. And then shades are spirits that died in some sort of depressive way. And so they become more and more and more and more depressed. And they basically just become shells that stand there and mutter and stuff like that. Or they're kind of like cockroaches where if people or other lingerers get too close to them, they'll scurry away. And so I'm trying to take these different like emotions that people might be feeling when they die and turning them into what over time they ultimately turn into because they have no way of controlling those emotions once they die.
I think this is gonna be a
That's
really
so
good book
crazy.
because it's so
Yeah.
weird. Like here lately, like in the past, it's kind of calmed down here lately. But for me, that's the biggest question to ask. Like, what happens when we pass away? And I think a lot of us have those questions. Like, you know, and so I'm interested to see your take on it. That's what it sounds like. If I'm wrong,
The
I'm ugh,
the
ugh.
the movie Coco messed me up. Like, have you guys seen
Oh
Coco?
yeah.
Yes.
Mm,
The guitar guy, like when you're forgotten by everybody and you just don't exist. And I was like, no, I'm writing a
I
book. I'm gonna
know.
do everything I can. Like, I don't want to
That
just
Yeah.
cease to exist.
that's what
Like,
keeps me up at 3 a.m., especially as a child. You think when you pass away, nothing happens. Like nothing. It's just art. I have a hard time believing that.
yeah,
I also have not to get into religion, but I also have a hard time believing we got one life to live and then we go into darkness. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah.
That's so
Well,
crazy
and
to me.
so that's one thing with these books that I realized later on in the book. So I'll give a little bit of a look into the future of the books. There's a very big organized religion versus paganism spiritualism thing going on.
Mhm.
It's not like direct in your face, but that's kind of like the subtext or the undertone of everything. So there's a lot of psychology behind everything, but then there's also a lot of like organized religion versus spirituality in the story. And I didn't realize that until I was writing them, and I was like, oh, apparently I have some thoughts about this subject that I didn't know
Yeah.
about. And
You're like
so
oh, new question unlocked.
yeah, yeah.
I like it.
Oh, okay. So is there a paranormal topic you're especially obsessed with? That's my favorite question.
Not Not really. Like just the idea of the paranormal in general baffles me because there's a lot of things that are like, oh, a ghost gets trapped if it's like a tragic event or
Yeah,
whatever.
it's all
But there's
intriguing.
Yeah.
yeah, but there's also spirits that haunt places that aren't aggressive, aren't mean, aren't didn't go through anything tragic, like they just died. So like it's weird to me, and that's why this idea kind of came to me, where like maybe the white light came or the door opened or whatever, however it's represented, happened, and they went, no, like I'm not going to that. I'm not going through that, and then ended up here. And so that's kind of where some of the idea came from. Where in mine they're given a choice, but it's like, what if they're too scared to cross over? What if like they die, they realize they die, and they're like, no, this is what I know. I'm going to stay here because I don't know what's on the other side, and they stay, and then that's how we end up with spirits wandering around.
That yes. Oh, I love the paranormal. It's so interesting.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm just like I'm big into that like horror, paranormal, like everything cuz there's always that thing like in the back of my mind just wanting to know exactly the answers that we're not going to get told.
yep.
We'll never
Well,
know.
we'll find out eventually, but then everybody after us has to find out eventually too. Like it's not one of those things that we can tell the next people, or I mean, we can try, but it doesn't necessarily work.
It doesn't and it yeah, I get it. Um
Yeah.
I
Okay.
don't know.
If okay, sorry. If the Book of John became a movie or show, who are you casting?
Oh man, I was thinking about that earlier, and I was like, I don't know, because like, I can't do like Johnny Depp as John because he just wouldn't work. Like a super famous actor wouldn't work. Like he'd probably kill it because he's a great actor, but like John is just like an everyday kind of guy that is just living this life in this weird world, and it's interesting because in the book people don't even know that this is happening until like a certain part. So this is like a whole new thing to everybody in the world and the universe. And
Yeah.
so it's just kind of this phenomenon that happens. So basically, sometime around 2010 is when people were starting to get the choice. And so it wasn't something that's always happened in this universe. And so people aren't really catching on with it yet. And so he's just an everyday dude that is all of a sudden thrown into this world. Like, what is going on? And so I'm like, who do you cast to play that? Because you can't get some like super famous actor that isn't some everyday dude
What
to
about
do it,
what about the awkward guy from like Zombieland? I don't know the actor's name.
right?
Apparently he's
Yeah,
really awkward in person, but
yep,
I wonder if he kind of just be like, la di da di da, and then bam, all this stuff happens to him. I
yeah, yeah,
That would
but,
make it funny.
That's true. We
yeah. And
like
then same with. Oh, go
sorry.
ahead.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
But yeah, all of the characters I tried to write them to be as relatable and normal as possible. So they're just like doing everyday struggles that normal people do, like, and all of that. And so, honestly, if I was gonna do anything, I would try to find like the newest actors that I possibly could, because
Yeah,
they're gonna be the closest to the average person because they haven't been acting for a long time, and so
that
their
makes
awkwardness could bring the character out.
yeah, that makes a lot of sense because that would also help boost their career.
Well, I think it'd help everybody out because you kind of you're molding what kind of actor that person is. So I don't know. I don't know much about the acting stuff. My sister, I have cousins. They're all like producers and actors. Like,
I
but my sister, she's an actress in my home. So if you're listening to this, Summer,
Oh my
I am the one that put her in acting school, to be honest. She moved up here and I'm like, "You gotta do something with your life." And she's like, "I wanna be an actress." I'm like, "Good, you're taking acting classes. Good for you."
wait, so
She
that's
yeah.
new news to me.
Well, she's already gone through her semester. Now she's about to go back. We were gonna wait till after winter, and she's gonna go into her second one.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I just graduated. I just graduated with my bachelor's in digital film production.
Nice.
So if this ever gets big enough to do that, I'm writing the screenplays. I'm gonna be on set. Like my story, if it ever ends up on film, I'm gonna be the one that does it. I'm not letting Disney ruin this. Like it ain't happening.
No.
No.
No, do not.
Yeah, please don't, because they almost did that to Star Wars for me.
They did do that to Star Wars. What do you
Look,
This is
I
a whole
Never
didn't
nother
watched the new
watch
ones.
it.
topic.
I'm sorry, I've never watched it because I didn't
However,
want it to be ruined for me.
well, I will
So
tell
that's
Yep.
why
you
I didn't.
I'll tell you one thing. I did watch it. I watched it in theaters because I had no choice. It was whatever. And the guy that
You have
plays
a choice.
listen, no. I was married. It was a bad time back then. I didn't have much choice. I did a lot of things against my will.
I know.
And yeah, the guy that played the Dark Lord, he had this beautiful, like, dark hair and blue eyes, and I was like, "Oh my god, I'm in love with the villain. Again. What the hell?"
Yeah.
Y'all ever find yourself doing that? You're like, "Why am I always in love with the villain?"
The
Yeah.
older you get, the more you relate to the villain, and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
I get why he's angry. Oh, I get why he wants to do
Yeah.
like Thanos in the Avengers movies. It's like, oh, I get
Yes.
it. Like the
Yeah.
population, like I get it. Like
I would be mad too.
That's
yeah,
true. I get that too. But I just want to be a Ninja Turtle, so
Oh my
I get that
gosh.
too.
hence why I
Okay,
have Ninja Turtles behind me.
Okay, while we're on this topic, if okay, completely random. If y'all could be any character, who would you be? It could be cartoon, it could be real life. True
Michelangelo.
oh
the
see,
Ninja Turtle?
Michelangelo's the best. I love Mikey. Um,
He's my favorite.
honestly, always I've always wanted to be Spider-Man. Spider-Man is like nerdy dude superhero swinging over traffic and climbing up walls and stuff like and photojournalist like sounded good to me.
You know, yeah, when you say it
I
like
see
that,
that.
I get that. And it's so
I,
funny because you just don't think like coming onto your lives, I was like, this is no way this guy is a nerd. And then you said D&D and I'm like, wait,
here let me
what?
I'll show you real quick. So that's my camera collection. That's my video game
Wow.
collection. Yeah, and
Okay.
then I have an entire D&D room on the other side of my house that's
Oh my
nothing but
gosh.
D&D books and D&D table and 3D printer to print all the D&D stuff and
That's so
yeah.
crazy. That's
That's
awesome.
awesome. My ex played D&D and it actually dated two guys that did D&D and really no, I'm not going to say they're cool cuz I hate them now, but no, nothing again this says it's not a you thing. It's anyways, where was I
Yeah.
going with this?
She's rambling now.
I am. And so my last ex, they would all come to the house. They all have one house where they kind of go to play,
Yep.
and they were all really trying very hard. Bless their hearts. The whole group was like, "Let's tell you how to play," and I was listening, but they couldn't put me in yet, which was fine. So I took to drinking wine, and that loud, weird chick at the D&D games, not playing, just drinking. That was me, and I was like, "I'm so
That
sorry.
would
Do
be
y'all
you.
was like, "I'm so sorry. Do y'all hate me? Like, I won't go to the next one. Like, please don't." And then they were like, "No, we loved it. You're having so fun." I think they were lying though. But never mind. I'm not going to say the next part. But
The first game that I played with my son, we were both players, and he played a druid. He's like, I want to be able to shapeshift into
oh,
animals, and we're like, cool.
yes.
So we had to go collect these like cursed coins in this dungeon, and once we collected so many coins, we could like put them on a scale and get out of the dungeon, whatever.
Mhm.
Well, it turned out there was like a pond in one of the rooms, and he was a druid. He's like, I'm going to turn into a salmon and go get you this coin. We're like, cool. And we
Nice.
go get it. And the rest of the campaign, we're like, hey, what are you doing? He goes, I'm still a salmon and I'm swimming around the pond. That's all he did the entire time was swam around the pond as a salmon. I was like, are you even playing? He goes, I am. I'm swimming around the pond as a salmon. And I was like, what? Okay.
That sounds
Okay.
like yeah, my friend, well, he had a friend and me and her became really close. Actually, she's what got us into the podcast, and she had an elephant with razor sharp ears and she would just kind of flap them around, but she would always get lost somewhere. I think she was stuck in like a hole for I don't know, forever. I think after like 2 games, I'm like, okay, you can take her out now. I want to see what she's going to do next.
Yeah,
She's just chilling in the hole.
that's funny. Yeah, I've written a couple of one shots, which were a ton of fun. I wrote this one. I got the custom maps printed, which was really cool, and I love plot twists. And so that was one of those where it was like, you stop and take a rest as a party, and you're sitting on the bank of a lake, and you see a bottle with a message in it, and you go and see it, and and I had like handouts, and it was a letter from a princess saying, "Hey, I'm stuck in this tower to the north. Come save me." And you go there, and you get inside, and then all of a sudden the doors lock behind you, and it's full of like zombies and skeletons and monsters, and you're like, "Wait, what is going on?" And so you start exploring each floor to get off the floor, and you find these handouts, and you start finding these letters that are saying, like, the princess is mad, people go with her and never come back, and all this. And as you go, it just keeps building, and by the top you're like, what is going on? I had sound effects and music, and it
Nice.
was cool. It was fun.
That
It
is
was a lot of
very
fun.
cool. Oh, I love plot twists. They always like they're so much fun because it's like you try to figure out and you think you got it figured out. By the end, it's like a whole different ending, and it's like, what happened? That's what I like, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Christopher, thank you so much for hanging out with us. This has been a really fun conversation.
Oh,
Yeah.
and
Thanks for having me.
So yeah, if you haven't read the Book of John yet, go fix that. Treat yourself. You deserve a good spooky romance fantasy escape. And thanks for tuning in. And make sure to follow, share the podcast, and tell us what part you loved. We will put all his links in the bottom here.
Thank you.
Until next time, stay spooky, stay weird, and keep those page turning. Bye.
You fire burning high, raise your glass and touch the sky. Turn that wheel, the darkest of